in a coffee shop in a city, which is every coffee shop in every city on a day, which is every day. Hello, friends, and welcome to the 27th episode of Barista Unfiltered, a podcast dedicated to the life and times of baristas. They tell us what's brewing in their lives and work in this free-flowing and unfiltered podcast. I'm Jodie Lee.
And I'm Austin Miller.
We're your hosts, and we are so thrilled that you've joined us again. Today, our guest is 16-year-old Finn Mott, and he is going to chat with us about his TEDx Vail talk titled Chemo and Coffee. Finn's going to tell us how coffee fuels his life as a cancer survivor and how his identity and personal latte grew together to make him the person he is today. Get yourselves ready, listeners, for a chat centering around themes of individuality, judgment, and appreciation of the little things in life. Welcome to the podcast, Finn.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Finn.
Thanks for joining us. So Finn's never heard the podcast today, or the podcast before today. He's just like jumping in with both feet. I suspect that might be how he lives life. We always ask our guest, first question, what kind of coffee did you have this morning?
Well, I had a vanilla latte. A vanilla latte.
Did you make it at home?
I actually went out and got it at the place I work, Color Coffee. So,
what town is Color Coffee in?
It's in Eagle, Colorado, in the Vail Valley area.
And explain to our listeners, Eagle, Colorado, how close is that to Vail, and what's it like up there?
So I actually live in Minturn, which is the town just west of Vail, and it's only about like a 40-minute drive to Vail.
And that tells you how remote it is, that you think 40 minutes is only a 40-minute drive.
Yeah, it's not that long for here.
Is Vail like the big town around you?
To be honest, it's not, because it's more of where all the tourists hang out and not many locals hang out there. And so like the biggest towns around me are like Edwards, Colorado, and Eagle is a pretty big one, in Glenwood Springs. But Vail isn't usually populated by the locals too much. So.
Okay, how far is Glenwood?
Glenwood's like a half an hour west.
Okay, and like they have like big stores and stuff there, don't they? They have pretty vibrant downtown.
Yeah, they have like a Walmart and a Target and big stores for sure.
Now, were you born up there in the mountains?
Yep, I was born in Vail, and I've lived here all my life. I'm very lucky. It's really amazing place to grow up in, because you have all these opportunities that are natural that people don't get. Like the Vail Mountain is just a day in the life of me, and it's Fantasyland and a Disneyland of the snow. So it's crazy.
What do you like to do when you're in the snow?
I really like skiing. That's a big thing I do. I go on hut trips in the backcountry and hike up, and I also do these things called powder surfing, which is like a surfboard on snow, and that's about it.
All right, we got to delve a little bit, because these things seem very normal to you, but yes. I bet you like 90% of our listeners have never heard of a hut trip. They have no idea what that's about.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about a hut trip. What's involved?
So a hut trip is basically when you hike up or snowmobile up to a cabin in the woods, and you stay in the cabin and you go hike anywhere you want, and you can ski fresh snow and powder, and it's basically there's no ski patrollers to regulate the mountain. It's all backcountry, and you do what you want with it.
And is that dangerous in terms of like avalanche risk?
It is slightly dangerous. I'm trained in AV1 though, so we definitely make sure, like especially this last season with all the avalanches occurring everywhere, that you just have to be safe, and that's the number one priority.
So when you take you called it AV1, that's some sort of certification. Are they teaching you mainly like how to look at the mountain and assess where the dangerous spots are?
Yes, they teach you like what parts of the mountain will be most AVI prone. Like that will be most likely to have an avalanche, and they teach you the snow types that cause avalanches. Like when there's a break under the snow, it's usually from this a certain type of snow that they teach you the finite details and the big grand scheme of things as well.
And so ideally, when you're on a hut trip, you want at least one person who's done that training, right?
Yes, yeah. You typically want everybody to be able to do that because, say, if that one person who didn't get trained is the only one who didn't get buried, everybody else would be at great risk. So you want to have good partners and that are trustworthy.
Yeah.
Is Avi 1 the highest level, or is there ones beyond that?
There are Avi up to Avi 3, I believe, and then you can always go in expert levels beyond that, I believe.
Is that something that interests you?
I'm interested in being safe, but I definitely don't. It it's not my scene to be in the cabin all the time, but it definitely is interesting to be like knowledgeable of the world like around me, especially when I'm out there a lot. And yeah.
All right, let's talk about the hut because I imagine our listeners are seeing a cozy fire and like warm food. Tell us what's in that cabin.
In the cabin, it's typically like a fireplace, yeah. And you have like bunk beds. I've only been to a few, so I can't speak for all of them, but bunk beds, a fire, a sink, a stove, typically, a deck, which is always super nice, and a place to put your skis and snowboard, and or that's pretty much all there is. It's really bare bones. It's like camping with a structure, basically.
Are there
And
little
there's
like
no
are they hexagonal shaped?
They can be. Typically, they're like a box with a triangle roof. Um, just typical, stereotypical cabins.
and there's no heat. So the heat is coming from the fire you build.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's what keeps me from doing a hut trip.
Yeah, it gets cold.
If you could get there ahead of me and build the fire and then I could come, like I'd be totally down with that.
All right.
All right, we'll work that out.
Yeah, we'll work that out for sure.
Now, snowboarders can't really do hut trips, can they?
They can if they have a split board, which allows the snowboard to break into skis, and then they can skin up, which is when you use horsehair that is going in one direction to grip the snow going upwards, or they can snowmobile up as well.
Huh. I never thought about snowmobiling. Now a hut trip sounds kind of doable for me. You're going to go build the fire. I'm going to snowmobile and then just board. That sounds perfect. When are we going?
Next season.
Is this season already over for huts?
I'm sorry, you broke out a little bit there. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Is this season kind of ended for hut trips? I know the resorts are closed.
Yeah, this season has definitely ended. And I actually didn't go on one this year because the snow levels are just so dangerous, and it's there's been avalanches on major highways and roads, and so it just wasn't safe. But the season's definitely ended, even though it was just snowing yesterday, like all day. So.
Yeah. There's people who are listening, there's one road, I-70, Interstate 70, that leads from Denver up to the areas where Finn and I are discussing. And that road is usually very safe. In the 10 years I've been here, I've never heard of an avalanche on it. And they had a massive avalanche. No one got killed, luckily, but this just unexpected snow came down and it covered a sizable portion of the road and closed it for a couple of days till they could get it all cleared up. And that's unusual. It was just a really snowy season this year.
It was.
Yeah. So where do you like to ski? Like what's your favorite resort?
I like Vail just because there's so many options there. Like the back bowls or the front side or some side country. It's a lot bigger than Beaver Creek and Arrowhead, and I've skied there a lot. So it's kind of nice to just like branch out a little more. than smaller mountains.
And then I'm not quite done with you about skiing and stuff. What is powder surfing?
Okay, so there's this company called Grassroots and powder surfing, and the guy who founded it, Jeremy Jansen, I reached out to him to get a powder board, and it's basically like a surfboard that goes on the snow, and he's like the first creator of a toy that does this. And so I got a board, and you hike up in the backcountry or a sledding hill or wherever you want to go, and you just go down, and it's kind of like it's surfing pretty much on the snow, and it's like a really just fun thing if you don't want to go up on the mountain, and it's something that I've bonded with my friends and my family with, and but the owner actually sent me a care package when I was in the hospital, which was really nice. Yeah, that's powder surfing.
I'm gonna
How
have to
does
look
that
this
differ
up.
from snowboarding? That's my question.
So you don't have bindings. All you have is grip. And
Gotcha.
yeah, and it's a wood board, and it's not shaped like a snowboard. It's shaped like a surfboard. So that's the difference.
And it only works in powder conditions?
Typically, yes, because there's no edges on it, and you need bindings to really carve turns. So it only works in powder where you can lean and turn without having an edge.
Is that must be new and wonderful. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's definitely very new. He's been in a few Warren Miller movies, and because it's up and coming, and it's very new, but it's getting very popular very quickly.
Okay. Probably no one knows what a Warren Miller movie is either. I remember when I moved out here, and it's okay. It's all like language of Colorado. When I moved out here in 2002, my husband was my boyfriend at the time, and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to a Warren Miller film. You want to come?" And I'm like, I have no idea what that is. But you have to get these tickets. You have to get them ahead of time. It's a big deal. And Warren Miller's been making movies of people skiing and snowboarding since I think the 70s. And they are like action packed. You get an adrenaline rush just watching it, because he goes into these backcountry areas Finn's describing, and he films like really good surfers, snowboarders, and probably powder surfers one day. But yeah, so he's well known for that. And what happens when a new Warren Miller movie comes out, usually theaters all around the Denver area do screenings, and it is packed with just people ready to whoop and holler for the film. So it's a community event.
It's been a big deal for a long time, because I used to go with my dad and watch them when I was a kid.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah, because we all we all skied also growing up, and yeah, so I remember when they would have a new one, it was kind of like, it was a big deal.
There's a lot of hype around it.
It's probably got like 100 movies at this point. I mean,
yes, it's a very big deal here.
If you haven't seen a Warren Miller film, I'll put a link in the show notes, and just click on it, look it up, and just check it out. You'll enjoy it. Even if you don't like snow sports, you'll be amazed at what you're watching. Okay, let's move back to coffee for a little bit. Do you remember the first cup of coffee you ever had?
I do. It was a Starbucks caramel frappuccino, which isn't really coffee, but it's just sugar, which I actually talked about in my talk. But that was the first cup of coffee I had, and I remember taking a few sips of my mom's caramel macchiato and being like, "Oh, that's weird. I don't like that." But so that was the first cup of coffee.
And how old were you?
I was probably around like 11.
Yeah. So you're working now at Color Coffee. Were you ever tempted to work at Starbucks?
No, I wasn't. I Starbucks is great, and it has a time and a place, but it's not the place I wanted to build my coffee understanding and relationships with.
And how long have you been working at Color Coffee?
It's probably going on like 8 months now.
Okay. How'd you get that job?
I was actually using their restroom, and I saw, oh, we need part-time help, barista and stock closer, and I was like, oh, I need a job, so I applied, and I got it, and it's been great from there on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell our listeners a little bit about how you and I got connected.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it was maybe a month or so ago. Finn and I met at the 2019 TEDx talk that was happening at Vail. I was performing as a backup choir singer, supporting a talk given by Cody Qualls, and a lot of you local to the Boulder area will recognize Cody. He is a widely popular member of the internationally recognized Face band. They're a cappella, and they're the only a cappella band that's ever sold out Red Rocks and headlined Red Rocks. And little plug, I'll be backing them up in their July 10th show there. So our performance was in the lineup just ahead of Finn, and I had seen the program, so I knew there was someone talking about coffee after me, and I ran to the auditorium to try to catch his talk, right, because I had to go backstage and prep myself and get my stuff. And so I just missed like the beginnings of his talk, but I heard the last like 5 minutes or so, and I was talking with my friends at the lunch break. I mean, this room is just full, like hundreds of people milling about. And I said to my friends, I got to find that guy that was talking about coffee and see if he'll be a guest on the podcast. And like right that moment, my friend like points behind me and goes, I think that's him. And so I just turned around and there he is. I just could not believe my luck. I didn't know how I was going to find him. And so I introduced myself, and we've been texting a little bit, and I'm just thrilled that he's joined us. And I want to hear more about that TEDx talk since I missed a lot of it. So I want to hear about your TEDx experience, and I want you to just share the bones of the talk with our listeners so they get a sense of it. And then, of course, when it's actually posted, we'll put that in the show notes so that you guys can see the talk. And we haven't gotten a copy of ours yet. Have you?
No, we have not.
Yeah, it takes them a while to edit it.
It does.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell us about your TEDx talk.
So my TEDx talk was surrounding my story and how I was diagnosed with brain cancer and spinal cancer back in 2013. I'm sorry, when I was 13, and I was like going into remission. I was really low on energy, and I was bedridden, and life was kind of passing me by. So I started drinking coffee, and it gave me this energy to join the mountain bike team and do all these things and just be living. And it also showed me taught me a lot of philosophies about life, like the importance of being yourself and individuality and appreciating like the little things, like taking a sip of coffee and telling stories, because they're all different and they all should be valued, and of course fighting for what makes you the one and only you. So that was kind of the basis of what my talk was about. And as the talk went on, I went on about like the specific experiences I had, that like how coffee helped me form relationships like with real people. And I talked about like the first cup of coffee I had and how I grew to like more types of coffee, like dark roasts, and how it fueled my coffee creations and my individuality.
So before you found coffee as sort of a way to understand the world, did you have trouble being yourself?
I did. I was really before, actually not before necessarily coffee, but before I was diagnosed, I was really I felt like I had to be the best at everything I did, and I was really kind of concerned about like the things that don't matter, like popularity and my hair. And getting diagnosed, I was not only forced to be somebody I necessarily didn't want to be, but coffee helped me accept that bald kid that was sick and broken. So yeah.
So you really started
Just sort
to
of just because when you
go ahead, Austin. We might be having a little delay here.
yeah, I think so.
Go ahead. You talk, Austin.
I was just gonna ask, like, because it gave you? Can you hear me, Finn?
Yes.
Okay. So it gave you. Do you feel like it just sort of gave you that mood lift that you needed to sort of deal with what was going on at the moment?
Yeah. So it actually gave me energy to get out of my bed and go to the grocery store and go to school. But coffee, I learned that what makes a good cup of coffee isn't what's in Starbucks. It isn't the sugar. It's what's below that pretty surface. And I came to believe that was also evident in me. So like cancer, it gave me depth, but it gave me quality as well. And I found that metaphor between coffee and myself, and it really helped me come to terms with who I was.
So I'm curious to hear, now that you're sort of diving into your soul more, what are the things about Finn Mott that you are super proud of being, and what is the light you want to shine out?
Um, I'm proud to be um, to take my adversity I faced, and I'm like using it for good. Like in my talk, and I'm raising money for Roundup River Ranch, which is a camp for kids with life-threatening illnesses, and doing speeches for them. And so I'm really proud that I was able to like take this thing that was a part of my past that I didn't necessarily think was good, and try to make it something that is like makes me better.
Yeah. So you've learned at an early age to develop resiliency.
Yes.
Yes, that always makes us a better person. There's a really good book called Option B. Have you read that?
I have not.
I feel like you probably enjoy some of that text because
Yeah.
it dives into how to emerge from really difficult situations, and like what is within us that helps power us through that, power us over it, basically. I mean, you must be an inspiration to all of your friends who know you really well.
Thanks. I hope so. I don't try to see myself as that. I just try to see myself as somebody who's been through something different, I guess, that has another perspective.
Yeah, I think you probably understand that everybody's got a struggle. Yours
Yep.
was just, visible, palpable, and unavoidable. Like you couldn't look away from it, right? You couldn't ignore
Yep.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember those first few days in the hospital. I was kind of in disbelief, and I would like wake up, and I would just cry because I was like, oh my God, this is my life, you know. Um, but yeah, everybody definitely has a struggle, and that makes them who they are. It's it it's hard because you got to take the bad and make it good, and you can only really see the good once you have something bad. So
Yeah. And it's like that with life, like over and over and over. So if you master it at a young age, I think you're going to have, an easier path because you know how to get through a hard time.
yeah.
And everybody in life has one of those like unavoidable things that comes into your life that you just can't ignore. It comes in, and you're gonna have to deal with this, but you're just kind of getting it at an earlier age than most of us do.
Yes.
Yeah. I know you like to talk about appreciating the little things in life.
Mm-hmm.
So what little things are giving you joy today?
Coffee, obviously.
Coffee, vanilla latte first thing in the morning.
Yeah. And my dogs. I love my dogs. They always bring a smile, and just whether they're running around, playing with each other, or falling off a bed, just the little things. And other than that, just I love to read, and enjoying like the story that books take me through, um, and Writing. I really like to write, and that's like a little thing that I can do just for 10, 15 minutes, and it just makes me appreciate who what my voice, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever write a book?
I definitely want to. I definitely want to. I'm not sure exactly what it'll be, but I definitely hope to do that one day, and hope to spread change with that.
Yeah. What kind of books do you like to read?
I read a lot. I read right now. I'm reading 100 Years of Solitude,
Oh,
um, and I really like the book, The Things They Carried, and there's another book, Into the Beautiful North, and The Gangster We're All Looking For, and I can go on and on about books, but those are some of the ones that I really like.
are
Fiction,
you
fiction,
are you reading physical books or are you reading on a device?
physical books. I really can't.
Whoa, old school.
Yeah, I really can't stand reading on a Kindle.
What bugs you about it?
It's there's just something that makes reading special when you have the hard copy right there, and it's it kind of transports you to out of the digital world and into something that's just real.
Hmm. Are you much into the digital world? Are you in social media?
Um, I'm not super into social media because I think it's a little fake, if you ask me, and I don't like to surround myself with fake people necessarily, but I'm on it just to communicate with people that I may not be able to otherwise, and obviously to spread the word if I ever need to, like um, fundraising. It's a great tool,
Hmm.
and portfolios and etc. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about the color coffee job you've got. Are you actually making the coffee there?
So I'm being trained. Um, right now I'm a stock closer, but as the summer comes around, I hope to get that day shift to um, to learn more about it. But I'm being trained at the moment.
Do you make your own coffee when you're there?
Yes, I do.
So they let you use the machines.
Yes, yes,
And do you like the
they
coffee
do.
you make yourself?
I do because I'm proud of it, but I can't. It's just like the foam is just blobs right now. I can't do like the designs yet, but
Yeah.
it's good. I mean, it's very good.
Have you watched any YouTube videos or anything like that on doing on how to foam and how to do latte art, that kind of stuff?
I have, yeah, I have, and I've learned like the pour overs and how to do. I know how to do. The only thing I don't know how to do is just the little designs and the frothing, but I watched quite a bit of that. Yes.
I feel like once
Um,
you get down how to do your microphone, that's like the art comes secondary,
Yeah.
but getting a good microphone is actually the good texture is the most important thing, and then you can show that you can finish it after that.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
who's doing your training?
Um, my boss Charlie. I can't pronounce his last name, but um, and also just the other people that work there. I'm like, hey, I just like grab them and say like, hey, can we make a mocha real quick or a vanilla latte? And they'll be like, oh yeah, sure. If we're slow, and um, but mainly Charlie.
They kind of teach you as you go then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And are you finding the foam is the hardest part?
Um, yes, just because I haven't been specifically taught how to do that yet. But
That's cool. Do you guys have tea in your coffee shop?
we do have a lot of teas. Our latest one is called Botanical, and it has like CBD in it, so it like relaxes you. It's really good.
Like more than a lavender or a chamomile tea?
Yes, I mean
Wow.
similar, but yeah, we have like 8 or 9 teas. green teas, black teas, all of those.
That's pretty cool.
It
I'd like to
is.
try that sometime.
Yeah, you should come out.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Going to Vail was a big adventure for me a couple of weeks ago. I usually stop at, we had passes at Copper this year.
Yeah.
And before that, we always went to Breck. So I never quite got that far west on
Oh, yeah.
I-70. Yeah, it's beautiful up there.
It is very beautiful.
How do you feel about high school?
High school, for me, I have mixed feelings about it. Freshman year, I had to drop a few classes because I was still really sick and just couldn't handle the course load. So there's a lot of like pressure for me to like catch up and take the advanced classes that I want to take because I did drop those few classes in freshman year. And but I find I have my close friends that I think are genuine and real and aren't trying to be somebody else or worried about if they're popular. And I kind of stick to that. I don't really care for people who are just trying to use you to be more popular. I really don't care for that. So
it's funny how that's been a theme in high school like since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Like that popularity is the thing that you're supposed to be preoccupied with.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, did you find high school like that too?
Oh yeah. I mean,
it's kind of universal.
High school is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what subjects are these advanced subjects you want to take? What compels you to study?
What compels me to study is going into a good college, hopefully, and getting a good job and just setting myself up for success. But I'm taking a lot of advanced classes, but my favorite one is AP Literature and Composition, which is like we read and we write, and those are like my two favorite things. So, and I love the teacher, and so yeah. I actually have my AP test next week, so.
You ready for it?
We'll see.
Do you have ideas of where you'd like to go to college?
Yes, a few. I actually went to California on a road trip last spring break, and I went to like Stanford and Berkeley and all the selective colleges, and just on a whim we went to University of San Francisco, and that was my favorite college, and it's like test optional and 65% acceptance rate, and so it was just kind of like a big relief for me. Like I could go there and be happy and not have to worry about getting into Stanford or Berkeley or. So.
And you could also go there. Yeah, you could go there for a couple of years and then decide if you want to continue on with a 4-year there or go somewhere else after that. What did you What did you like about San Francisco?
I really like the city. It's a really cool city. I just like the aesthetic of it, and everybody there was like super nice and welcoming, and I just felt like I fit in with the culture there more than any other place I visited. So.
That's how I felt when I got onto campus at UNC Chapel Hill. I remember I was standing near the bell tower and it started ringing, and I just knew that's where I was going. And I hadn't even looked at the course catalog. I didn't know what I was going to study, and I'd visited other schools, but I still remember that moment so clearly that this is where I belong, and I don't understand it. It's beyond what I can comprehend or communicate, but this is where I'm going to be. And sure enough, that's where I went. And I can't imagine my life if I hadn't gone there.
Right.
So I think there's something in you sometimes that just knows better than your brain.
Yeah, something. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, that's really cool. California, huh?
We'll see. We'll see. Money is a concern, but
of course. Yeah.
That's the goal.
So, I don't know if you know, but Austin is in San Francisco.
You texted me that.
Yeah. So,
really cool.
if you get there, you could look up Austin. I'm sure he'll make you a vanilla latte.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love that.
For sure.
Yeah,
And maybe help you. Yeah, if you have any questions, if you're trying to settle in here and you have any questions, anything like that, always contact.
That's a great resource. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And Austin, I always say this on the podcast, Austin is one of the best spots to hit in San Francisco. He is so much fun to hang out with. So, no trip to San Francisco is complete without hanging with Austin.
Yeah, I'll definitely. My aunt lives there, so I'll make sure to say hi next time we go.
What neighborhood is your aunt in?
She lives in Menlo Park. It's just outside of San Francisco.
Okay.
But near there, like half an hour away, I think.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like Palo
Alto.
Areas. Yeah. It's very nice.
So you can get to the city in no time from there.
Yes, very quickly.
So fun. God, I wish I was 16 again for going to college. College was such a great time for me.
Yeah.
Well, we talked a little bit about what you do for fun. I know you're mountain biking and skiing. You love to read. Do you have any other hobbies we haven't hit on yet?
I love to write. Traveling is always something super fun. I went to Tanzania last year.
Wow.
And taught kindergartners English, and going to Morocco this year, and I'll be teaching. And journalism is a passion of mine. And that's all I can think of at the moment. But
that's a lot. Who are you traveling with, and can we come?
I'm traveling with an organization called Children's Global Alliance, and it's been a great foundation just to see more of the world, even if it's been rough in spots. It's just given me an opportunity, a chance of a lifetime. So.
And what you do there, you travel to some place that has a school that needs a person teaching English as a second language.
Yeah.
Is that what you're teaching?
Yeah, so we taught at a school. The name is dropping here right now, but in Tanzania, and it's a private school. But teaching English there is really important because basically public schools don't teach English, but private schools do. And then at the end of their 7th grade year, which is like the most common level of education, 7th grade, they take a test, and it's in English. But if they don't get taught in English, they can't pass the test. So the government's just like kind of trying to keep them undereducated and not able to do anything about it. So it's just really important. And we visited orphanages and helped local families in the area. So yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, it really was. We went on a
safari.
Like
you've lived the life of a 50-year-old already.
Well, that's the goal, is you never know when it may end,
That is true. That is so true. Do you kind of live with that in the forefront of your mind, like today is important?
Yeah. I definitely try to do everything and anything I can, because that Friday before spring break, I had a phone call, and I didn't know if I was going to live or die. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I just got to capitalize on everything in every moment. So.
Were you serious like that before your cancer diagnosis?
No, I did not. I did not realize how precious life was before.
Yeah, but you know now.
I definitely do.
That's really cool, Finn.
Thanks.
Do you ever feel stressed out?
Yes. I'm kind of known to be a stress case. I don't have a pituitary gland or an endocrine system or adrenals. So I don't produce this hormone called hydrocortisone, which monitors all stress in the body. And so like any extra stress on me, I can't really handle. And so yeah, I feel a lot of stress, very often.
Do you recognizing that, knowing that your body isn't responding to stress the same way that it ideally would, what are your coping mechanisms for that?
I don't have too many. It's kind of hard unless I take a pill. It won't really help. But just kind of try to realize that I'm stressing for no reason, or this won't matter in 20 years, or just kind of ground myself and realize like what's real and what's really going on. So
it sounds to me like your strategies for coping, whether you realize it or not, are all very meditative, and that your focus is in the present moment, right?
Yeah. I have struggled with that a lot, focusing on the present. But you have to. You can't. And I'm not very good at this, but you just have to live where you are right now, or your life's going to pass you by. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's your heading. You might not always be, you might not be achieving it in a way that you think is satisfactory, but in all your answers, that is your common, that's the common thread I'm taking away from just talking with you, is that you really are trying to live in the present moment. And we all, those of us who meditate and make that a goal, we all fail. We fail at it constantly. And it's not important that you fail. What's important is that you've got the heading, like, you know where you're going. And just having that heading has a lot of healing in it. So yes. I think you're going in the right direction in so many ways, like whether or not you notice it in yourself. I think sometimes it's harder to see it in yourself than it is to see it in others.
Thank you.
So if you've got a friend who's all stressed out, what do you say to that friend?
Well, I say what my mom tells me, and my mom tells me to focus on the current material and know that the future will come, and just focus on the learning and or specifically school, but focus on what's happening and know that the future will fall in line in one way or another. That's what I would say. Just realize that everything will work out, whether it doesn't seem like it or not. It will.
Yeah. Austin, do you struggle with staying in the present moment?
I mean, I guess I must sometimes. Usually if I have something I'm working on, that helps to take my mind off of it. Usually I kind of like put myself to activity.
Yeah.
That's, but I don't know. I don't know that I struggle with it more than your average person.
You seem to me like a person who doesn't struggle with it very much. I think that's why you're so much fun to be around.
I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know what's inside other people's heads versus my own, but I know that I do. I suppose that I do have times when I start worrying about the past, or especially worrying about the past. That seems like, I mean, it's good to pay attention to your past and learn from it, but don't get caught up in that.
Yeah. Yeah. In sort of Eastern philosophy, they talk about having this monkey mind that is either thinking about the past or worrying about the future. And those are things you've no control over, right? So like the now is the thing to be deeply like embedded in, because it's really all we have. But
it is.
Our brains are not set up for now. We have to train our brain to be in the now. It's a conscious thing you have to work on. Whereas the monkey brain just comes. Like we're all gifted with monkey brain.
I wonder what the age is that we start worrying about the past more than we start worrying about the future.
Hopefully 0. No, like never. I'm not going to worry about the past. You remember that scene in The Lion King where he like, one of them is Simba or Pumbaa. One of them hits the other one over their head, and he was like, "What did you do that for?" And the one that hits the one over the head goes, "It's in the past. Stop worrying about it." Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, trying to teach you like the Hakuna Matata sort of way of life.
No worries.
Yes. So, what's had the biggest impact on your life, good or bad, and tell us why?
Well, obviously, it's been having cancer and dealing with that. I it's hard for me to say whether it's. I'd like to say it's been overall positive for me, even though there was a short time where it was horrible. But I think in the future it's proven to, and I think it will have proved to be a positive in what I've learned, and using that to make myself better instead of letting it hold me back.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like your mom sort of guided you through that.
Yeah, my mom has been a big inspiration. She's crying right now. Um, she she's just always there. Yeah, always there.
Yeah. You guys are lucky to have each other.
Yeah, we are.
You know, some of this conversation came up when my cousin Corbin was on the show last week, and she's 16 too, and just got her first job as a barista at the Starbucks. That's why we were interviewing her. But she and I talk about this good luck, bad luck story. Have you ever heard this about a Chinese farmer? I'd like to read it.
So. Okay.
I wanted to read it last week, and we just didn't get to it. But we think about this a lot, and just as a life philosophy. There's a story of a Chinese farmer whose wild stallion ran off one day. All the neighbors gathered around saying, "Very bad luck." The Chinese farmer said, "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?" A few days later, the stallion returned with a herd of wild horses. The neighbors gathered around saying, "Very good luck." "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?" said the farmer. A week later, the farmer's son was trying to break in one of the horses and was thrown from the horse and broke his leg. The neighbors gathered and said, "Very bad luck." "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?" said the farmer. Several weeks later, the Chinese army came to the town looking for able-bodied youth to join the army and fight. When the soldiers came to the farmer's house and saw the boy's broken leg, they left him alone and moved on. The neighbors gathered saying, "Very good luck." "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?" said the farmer. And then, that story comes to mind when you think about like what's happening in your life and you want to put a judgment on it, whether it's good or bad. And the truth is, you don't really know until time passes. So, yeah, that's sort of what we say. Anytime something bad or wonderful happens, Corbin and I will turn to each other and go, "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?"
Yeah. That's a good story.
Yeah, it's a fun one to think about.
Yeah.
It sounds like your mama knows that stuff too.
Yeah, my mom does.
Well, so we always like to close our show asking our guests, what are your 3 favorite coffee houses of all time? Do you have some in mind?
I do, yes. My one of them is a place called Red Canyon Cafe. It's in Eagle also. All these are in Eagle. And they have a really good the Bomb coffee, which is like a cinnamon mocha kind of thing. And the owner is really nice and has been helping me fundraise and for my service trips. And the place is just really, they're always smiling and happy. And so I suggest going there, especially if you want a good cup of coffee. The Bomb is a great one. And another one is Stout House, which the people there are also very nice. They're always smiling, and they're like just having the time of their lives always. And they have a great caramel macchiato if you want one of those. And then my favorite is Color Coffee, obviously, just because it has really like the owner, Charlie, he just really cares about quality and like connection with the guests. And so if you want any quality coffee or just a really good experience, I suggest going there. So those are my 3 top favorites coffee houses right now.
I hear you talking a lot about not just the coffee, but also the community it creates.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's something you're already very, very much seeking out when you go find a place to have your coffee. That it's also about the community as well.
Definitely. I mean, getting coffee, it's not just about the coffee, it's about the people who take your order, and the modern cafe or whatever it is. It's about the story, and it's about the whole experience. It's not just about a single coffee. Like, I went to a cafe in San Francisco, actually, near UC Berkeley, and it was like 1951, I believe it was called. And they that's the year immigrants were allowed to come to the U.S., and they're a nonprofit coffee shop, and it's just more than just the coffee. So,
well, the next time you're touring in the Bay Area, you'll have to come into Spike's, where I work, and I'll make you a coffee.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
I love that. I had no idea we were going to make connections with
Yeah.
San Francisco today.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, any closing thoughts before I start rambling about how to find us online?
I don't believe so. Just thank you for this opportunity.
It has been wonderful.
It has, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, as we end this episode, we again want to thank our guest, Finn Mott, for being with us today, and thank all you listeners for joining us. We want to hear from you guys. So if you know a barista or coffee industry expert who should be featured on the show, write to us and tell us. Whatever your thoughts are, send your big ideas to our email address. It's info@baristaunfiltered.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you have time to write up a thoughtful review on Apple's iTunes podcast app, that would help us so much with getting noticed by other listeners that are outside our friend and family circle. We've got a couple podcast patrons now through Patreon, so you might want to join those cool kids and support the podcast if you can. Patreon.com/baristaunfiltered. And I will also post information about Finn's association with the Roundup River Ranch. So if you want to help him in his fundraising efforts, there will be a link for that at the bottom of the show notes too.
Thank you.
Yes, it's been wonderful to chat with you. And we definitely want to support you, whatever you're doing next, because everything you do is incredible.
Thank you so much.
I'm Jodie Lee.
And I'm Austin Miller.
Y'all be good and stay caffeinated, friends. Bye.
Bye.